This time we have a match of Classic Constructed. It's going to be a battle here between Chonigman on Rhinar and Paddago on Viserai. This is a Classic Constructed game. The players have just rolled off, I think. I'm telling them they're good to go. They had kind of started things up maybe a little quickly, but we're going to see what happens here. And it should be an interesting match. This isn't a matchup that I'm so familiar with, and furthermore, there are a lot of different decks that are being played for Viserai. He's really not a hero that I think people necessarily are most have figured out yet. Interesting ploy there. He's going to go for a double pitch, so he pitches inefficiently on purpose in order to use his Grasp of the Arknight here to create a Runechant token, trying to cycle a Rattlebones out of his hand, as well as pitching a blue Slogism. He uses this to create a Runechant, and both players here running fairly standard equipment for their class. The Brute player is using Tunic, Skullcap, Nullrune Gloves, Scabskin Leathers, and of course the Romping Club, and the Viserai player also using the Skullcap, but he's playing the Bloodsheath Skeleton, Grasp of the Arknight, and Mage Master Boots. A swing for 4 coming in here from the humble Romping Club. No block, but a defense reaction being used here. Sink Below, allowing him to put a card from his hand on bottom of deck if he does draw a card. And he actually has 2 more defense reactions already in hand, so a bit of an odd hand there for our Runeblade player. So he could use his Grasp of the Arknight here to make another Runechant. He would have to pitch 3 for it, though, so it should be interesting to see what exactly he goes for. He could potentially be making a lot of Runechants this turn. The question is whether using the Grasp of the Arknight is going to be worth not having a card in Arsenal. So he plays a Mordred Tide until end of turn. If you would create a Runechant token, instead create that many +1. Yeah, then he is going to use the Grasp to get the 2 tokens. Then he's going to play a yellow copy of Read the Runes, which will make 2 tokens buffed up to 3. And then he will also get 2 more from Viserai's ability. So that card is actually going to get him a total of 5 tokens, putting him up to 8 total. Strong turn there in terms of Runechant creation. So for those who aren't familiar with this class, the Runechants, they stay in the arena until you either play an attack action card or attack with a weapon. When you do, you destroy them, and they deal 1 arcane damage to a target opposing hero. So pretty interesting there. Some quick shout-outs here for people who have followed the channel in between my previous stream and this one. We have Katushai, Epic Ethereon, Ghost TCG 24, Kellyan, and Dolphin Conspiracy. So thank you for the follows, guys. Much appreciated. Meantime, here we are going to see a attack coming in from Chonigman. This is another Romping Club swing, no block. Probably going to be reduced to Runechant here. Reduced to Runechant. Costs 1 less to play for each Runechant you control, blocking for 3, and creating a Runechant. As long as you have even 1, this card is free, which is pretty sweet, as it not only defends, it also gives you some more offense. So right now it's definitely looking like our Runeblade deck here is one of those big build-up decks and is charging up a lot of Runechants for a really big turn. Chonigman hasn't managed to do much damage. Runeblood Barrier being played here, creating 4 Runechant tokens. If your hero would be dealt damage, instead destroy that many Runechants you control and prevent 1 damage that source would deal for each Runechant destroyed this way. At the beginning of the action phase, this goes away, but he is now up to a mighty 13 Runechant tokens, and he has them as shields on this turn, essentially. Oh, and I see the big follow-up in the hand here. He has the Arknight Ascendancy, which can actually be played for free with this many Runechants, potentially giving him a bunch more Runechants coming in with Dominate, and he could, in fact, even pitch and play this Slogism first, give it +4, and come in with a massive attack. The question is, how much pressure can Chonigman put on him before the huge attack comes in next turn? And with that shield, I fear it may not be enough for our Brute player. Rupa in chat says hello. Hey, what's up? Good to see you. Good to see you watching. Raven the Red says Slogism plus Ascendancy is huge. Dang. Yeah, so Slogism is a card that hasn't necessarily done all that well in some cases. but it is actually quite powerful with the Arcanite Ascendancy. So Slogism, it's very expensive for what you get, and that's kind of the weakness of the card, but it synergizes very well with this Arcanite Ascendancy, because if you do land the hit, you get X Runechant tokens, where X is the damage dealt, and that can really just be a huge number of Runechant tokens. So that can be an opportunity to really get powered up. So a Command and Conquer coming in here, bit of an odd play. As the Runeblood Barrier is going to mean that Command and Conquer's on-hit effect will not be relevant. Chonigman passes, so 3 Runechants get knocked off. Still 10 Runechants left. However, having defended, he now is not going to be able to play that Slogism unless he breaks his Bloodsheath Skeleton. So it's no longer going to be the huge turn that it might have been. I actually think I might have gone for an equipment-based defense there and not used any cards from hand so that I could play the Slogism first and then come in with a huge swing from Ascendancy. And wow, he actually passes his turn. Very unusual. Not at all what I predicted when he had this huge attack ready, but he may be saving it for some other condition. I'm quite surprised to see that from Paddago there. I thought this was going to be his chance to attack, but he probably knows the deck better than me. We'll have to see. Raven the Red says, that feels wrong to me, but I'm not a big Runeblade player. Do you mean my commentary feels wrong or passing feels wrong? Passing feels way wrong to me, but like I said, I'm not an expert Runeblade player by any means. Yeah, I'm with you, Raven. I don't understand the pass there. The thing is, I don't know what he's gaining by waiting. I just don't. I don't really understand it. The other thing that I'm not sure. Well, you know, we'll see what happens. So a Barraging Bighorn coming in. If it's defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has Go Again. There isn't really anything that Chonigman actually has to follow up with. So that Go Again doesn't really do anything. Blocked for 3, blocked for 5. Okay. Blocked for 5. So he blocks for 5. That will shut off the Go Again, but I don't think the Go Again is very relevant at this point. And 1 damage gets through, and then there's no Go Again, even though there wasn't going to be a follow-up. Okay. Now the thing is, there is a copy of Unmovable here in Arsenal that can defend for 7, so it could be that this wow, and once again it does nothing, just a draw. Really a big surprise to me. He has a powerful attack charged up, and he's just not taking it. I think the you know, it's possible he's trying to wait for everything to line up perfectly in terms of Slogism Ascendancy or whatever, but like this is actually one of the things that I think can be very questionable about some Runeblade decks. You have these turns where it's just like, I got no value this turn and now my opponent's attacking me. Brute isn't necessarily the most aggressive deck, but against a really aggro deck, I don't think you can afford to have turns where you just do nothing. So we're going to see, this time an Awakening Bellow yellow is played. It's going to intimidate a card. Next Brute attack action card you play this turn gains +2. And then followed up by a Savage Feast, it looks like. Okay. The other thing is that Chonigman has his Unmovable loaded up, so this attack might not be that good even with the Slogism. With all that armor left, I don't know. Okay, so then Savage Feast discards a random card. It is the Predatory Assault. That's going to trigger another Intimidate, and it's also going to trigger a card draw. Yep. So he has a Springboard Somersault, which doesn't really do anything in this situation because you can't put it into Arsenal with that Unmovable already there. Okay, so this is actually very awkward for Paddago because this is coming in at Strength 8. It's Strength 6 base, and it's buffed by the Awakening Bellow at Strength 8. So he actually has to choose here. Both of the cards in his hand are, I think, ones that he would rather keep. But the cards that he would have wanted to defend with have been intimidated away. So he has to either take a big hit or lose some of the cards that he was probably saving. Very awkward situation there for our Runeblade player. Now, we'll have to see how he responds to it, but I definitely don't think that's what he was hoping to do this turn. Yeah, he says, okay, take 8. maybe he thinks this next turn is his turn, but he better really have something big coming up, because I think if he just keeps passing like this and waiting for more Runechants or whatever, he is going to lose control of the game. Yeah, he had 2 copies of Sink Below and they were both intimidated. Definitely some bad luck there for our Runeblade player. Can't deny that. Ooh, okay, so he plays a Mordred Tide, uses his Mage Master Boots to give his next non-attack action card Go Again. He then plays a red Read the Runes, which is actually going to make, I believe, 5 more Runechants, or no, it's 6 more Runechants, because it's with this +1 to any source of Runechants, he's gonna get he's gonna get 4 of them from the card and then 2 from Viserai. And yeah, now he's finally attacking. 16 Runechants plus the 16 Runechants plus Arknight Ascendancy, coming in for 5 with Dominate. And if it hits, it will create X Runechant tokens, where X is the damage dealt, and it's actually going to be X plus 1. So very, very strong attack from our Runeblade player. But I have to say, I think he should have done the slightly weaker version of this a few turns ago and then kept up his momentum. I could be wrong, though. I'm definitely not an experienced Runeblade player, and maybe he's played it and determined he has to go big. Well, it's going to be a very awkward defense here for Chonigman. Now, the good thing for him is that it's going to be pretty easy for him to shut down the. It's going to be pretty easy for him to shut down the actual Arknight Ascendancy with that Unmovable that he has in Arsenal. So that part's going to be easy. The problem is just going to be all the Runechants that are also coming in. I have to say, I think he's probably going to take a lot of damage here. And then Paddago is going to actually be in a pretty decent spot with a red Sink Below that he can throw into Arsenal after that attack and put himself in a position for potential good defense. And he also already has those 2 Runechants built up for the next turn. So, Chonigman in a spot here. Pitches 2, pitches 3, pitches 6, uses his Tunic. Or no, wait, those are both red. So he's pitched 5 total, blocking 5 arcane, and taking 11. And then he's going to also, I believe, yeah, there's his Unmovable to shut down the actual Arknight Ascendancy, pitching his last card for that. It will block the physical damage completely, so he isn't faced with a huge number of bonus Runechants or whatever, but he is now actually behind on life. He used his entire hand to get all that arcane damage blocked, and his next turn is just going to be draw up. It's now Paddago's chance to go on the offensive, I feel. We'll have to see whether or not he has a good follow-up. You know, it may be that his deck is too slow to keep the pressure on necessarily. But I actually think this may have been an overblock from Chonigman. I think that I think it might have been better to he had some cards that he was pitching for 1. I don't know about pitching for 1, I might have kept some of those cards, even if it was just going to be a club swing or whatever. I might have kept some stuff so that I could have some measure of retaliation. I don't know, though. Maybe he figured, okay, my next turn is just done. I'm going to just block up and see what happens. He does have a really aggressive turn now. The problem is that he doesn't have the energy for it. He has a... he could potentially do Blood Rush Bellow into Alpha Rampage, but the problem is it's not going to be reliable. Wow. Wow. Yeah, and Paddago definitely trying to keep the offense up. He actually pitches for 9th Blade of the Blood Oath. So this card costs 9, but it's reduced by each Runechant. And so Paddago actually pitching 7, and then with the 2 Runechants to discount it, this is 2 plus 9, another huge attack. So definitely he is keeping the offense up, and that is pretty good. I was looking at it earlier, and it didn't seem like he was... I was concerned that he might not be able to keep the pressure on, but it looks like he definitely will. And now we're going to have to see what Chonigman has on the defense. Very interesting situation. Double block for Chonigman. Takes 3 damage there from the physical attack plus the 2 arcane. And now club swing for 4. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be a nice defense reaction waiting for this one. Probably the Sink Below from Arsenal, and use the Sink to put back the Fate Foreseen. Unless I miss my guess, I think that might be the play. Could put back the Reduce to Runechant also, since no Runechants are built up. No block. The good thing for Chonigman, though, oh, he goes for the Fate Foreseen instead of the Sink Below. Interesting choice. I think I would have gone for the. I think I would have gone for the Sink there. And got one of the excess defense reactions out of hand. At this point, Paddago has the tempo advantage, and I think the best thing to do is to just keep up the attack pressure. But he does have that attack pressure right now, so we're going to see. Looks like it's going to be a pitch. Grasp of the Arknight used here to create a Runechant token. For 2 energy, create a Runechant token. This costs an additional 1 to activate for each Runechant you control. Go again. So he makes 1 Runechant. Now, why hasn't he used his Arknight Shard for this? That's an odd one. That's his whole turn? Wow. Not what I would have gone for. Yeah, not what I would have gone for. You know, if I was just going to make Runechants, I would have pitched the Arknight Shard. And I would probably want to be doing more than just making Runechants in that situation. So not entirely sure. Maybe just trying to end the turn with a Runechant available for that Reduce to Runechant, making it free. But I have to say, this isn't really the style of deck that I most like. Wow. Yeah, and Chonigman rolls the Scabskin Leathers and hits a 1, so his turn immediately ends. Very unfortunate. 0 cost, roll a 6-sided die, gain action points equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. You know, they say that Scabskin Leathers is good to use against decks that are going to dirtle a bit. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case here. He went for the Scabskin Leathers and really got unlucky there, rolling the 1 and ending his turn. And his opponent plays another Runeblood Barrier. That time he does pitch the Arknight Shard, giving him a total of 5 Runechants, up to 6 total. Whoa, 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 whoa. Tome of Fyendal used from Arsenal with no action. Yeah, really weird. I don't know. So he just used the tome without rolling Scabskins. The problem is this just ends his turn, so he does go into the next turn with a 5-card hand. I don't know, maybe he thought, you know, this is going to be at least reliable. He heals a bunch, and then he has a big hand for the next turn. And I guess maybe he was figuring that he wasn't going to do a lot of damage thanks to that Runeblood Barrier anyway. So, a little surprising. Wow, and then his opponent with a non-aggressive turn of his own. Playing a Potion of Strength and doing nothing else. This Runeblade deck is definitely playing for the big build-up, and I think personally this is not my style of deck necessarily. Paddago says to you, "This is amazing for Kingsley's stream," and yeah, the little spell check there, but yeah, this is definitely unusual gameplay, and it's interesting to see it in action with both players doing a lot of non-aggressive turns here. We're gonna have to see how that turns out now. Some Runeblade decks are built for this. You know, this might be the intended way that this Runeblade deck plays. You know, maybe he's only making attacks if he really has his stuff built up. But at least for me, that's not the way I most prefer to play the game. So, Chonigman leading off with an E-Strike. Probably an E-Strike 5, go again. Yep, he says go again. One of the best cards in the game in Latent Strike. Very versatile attack. Blocks for 3, and you do have to put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck as an additional cost to play it. But it can either be 5 go again, 5 draw a card, or 7. And you get to choose that, and that can be really strong. So, Sink Below then used. Only 1 damage gets through, and I believe he did use the Sink Below, putting away a spare copy of Enchanting Melody that he had in hand. He had drawn 2 of those, and I guess that wasn't really desirable for him. So using that. But I think our Brute player is going to have some more threats coming in. Barraging Beatdown, classic Brute card. Your next brute attack this turn gains, if this attack is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it gains +3, and this intimidates. So if you can set up enough intimidates, these barraging beatdowns are just like guaranteed free damage, which makes them really very strong. This is really one of the stronger cards in the game, I think. It's an interesting one. So one card is intimidated. Most brute decks, I think, are playing like 9 of this in Classic Constructed because it synergizes with itself. Ooh, okay, so Swing Fist, Think Later, discarding a random card. The card that it discards triggers another Intimidate. Oof, but this time, you know, previously there was that, so this is 4 with Go Again, and it's gonna go up to 7 if it's defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, and it can be followed up by a Club Swing. The problem with this is that this time his Intimidates got unlucky. Earlier we saw an attack that intimidated away the defense that his opponent wanted to use. This time his Intimidates totally missed those 2 reduced to Runechants. So Paddago is able to play those 2, take no damage from this, and gain 2 Runechants. However, there is a follow-up swing with the Romping Club. This time it's actually for Strength 5 because the once per turn effect when you discard a card with 6 or more strength that gets +1 until end of turn, that is active. So the club lands a hit, so some damage getting through, and then a Enchanting Melody red going up. So Enchanting Melody is the next time that it's an aura. It goes away if you don't play a non-attack action, but it makes it so that you the next time you would take damage, you instead destroy that and reduce it by 4. So it's essentially it's kind of like a defense reaction that you can pre-play. It does also have Go Again, but there wasn't any follow-up to it. I think that it looks to me here, it looks to me like the Runeblade deck is trying to build up for another huge swing. The question is just, you know, when will they get an attack? The other thing is that they actually have lost a fair number. Yeah, so 2 copies of Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath and 2 copies of Arknight Ascendancy are already in the discard pile. Those tend to be the big attacks that these decks play. So he might only have 2 big attacks left, which he would actually want to go in with, which creates a bit of an awkward situation. It'll be interesting to see what's up. He does have that Potion of Strength allowing him to make the attack even bigger, but, you know, should be interesting. 2 barraging beatdowns actually being pitched here. Very unorthodox in some ways. I think he's trying to maybe save those barraging beatdowns to do like a gigantic combo of his own, and putting them to the bottom of the deck there, trying to get his own deck set up to give him a huge swing. No block coming out from our Runeblade player, but another Reduced to Runechant does not only block that attack completely, but also gives another Runechant token. We've seen a lot of copies of Reduced to Runechant being played here. It looks like 4 have been played. This deck is probably running 6 with 3 yellows and 3 reds. There is a chance that he's also running the blue Reduced to Runechants, though. The blue Reduced to Runechant, of course, only blocking for 2, not that efficient, but it does give you that kind of offensive boost that can sometimes be helpful. And he just plays a Read the Runes from hand to get 2 more Runechants. And that will also prevent his Melody from breaking because he played a non-attack action. Oh, and he does not have one of his big attacks, but he does have a copy of Become the Arknight. So he could discard a non-attack action card, search for one of his attacks, put it into hand, and go. Or he could discard an attack action, find a Rattlebones, and use that, as Rupa suggests. So, you know, while he might only have a few big attacks left in the deck, he does have several cards that can potentially search those out, with Become the Arknight finding the copies from the deck and Rattlebones retrieving them from graveyard. Okay, so then we're going to see a pitch and a Romping Club coming in for 4. And there is a Pummel to potentially boost it up. Right now it's just going to get intercepted by that Enchanting Melody, so it's actually possible that we're going to see no defense whatsoever, and just okay, you know, Enchanting Melody has this, and now I'm going to throw together a huge attack of my own, you know, let's rock. So we're going to have to see what happens here, but I do think that our Runeblade player at this point has what he needs in order to do a lot of damage with one of his combos. Yeah, we're seeing no block. I think he's going to let the Enchanting Melody take the hit. We'll see if Chonigman comes in with that pummel for the bonus damage. I think probably you do want to do that here. No, it's going to be a pass. And there is going to be a Fate Foreseen played there. Okay. Ooh, and then, yeah, so then he does go for the Pummel. So the Pummel is going to get through. This is a red Pummel, so it's +4. And that gets through just to land some damage, which then breaks the Enchanting Melody. So C. Honigman unsuccessful in doing damage, but does break down that Enchanting Melody to limit his opponent's defense. Unfortunately, I think it's now time for Paddago to throw out a huge attack. Well, unfortunately for C. Honigman, at least. I think it's now time for Paddago to unleash a huge attack of his own. But C. Honigman has an Unmovable loaded up yet again. So with an Unmovable loaded up, you know, I think we could see Reduced to Runechant. Discarding that, yep, come to fight. It's gonna probably find Arknight Ascendancy, and he can pitch the blue and play the Slogism and use his potion. So he can get a gigantic buff on this card. And yeah, that's exactly what he's going for. Pitches the blue, red Slogism, +6, potion used +2, and then playing it. So this is going to be 13 damage with Dominate. And any hit is a Runechant token, or each point of damage is a Runechant token. So 13 Dominate plus 11 Runechants. Gigantic swing here, but I actually do think that C. Honigman is going to be able to defend against it, or defend against a lot of it, because 13 damage there. 13 damage, you know, with Dominate, but he has the Unmovable. You know, that's going to be 7 right there. And if he blocks with one card, you know, he could actually full block it by using one card plus his equipment plus the Unmovable. So the 13 is actually probably not going to land here, I feel, but the 11 arcane damage is going to is probably going to take its toll on C. Honigman here. Pitch is 5. Yeah, pitch is 5, so he blocks 5 arcane. Still 6 getting through. And then against the physical attack, he's probably going to block. You know, you might let one of the damage through here instead of using Skullcap. Oh, he messed this up. He should have let one more damage hit him. Oh, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. He could have let one more damage hit him and it would have made a Skullcap better. But that's cool. That's fine. It doesn't matter a huge degree. Let's see here. Raven the Red says, could have played Slogism before become the Arknight to get an extra Runechant, but that's only a minor misplay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So if he had sequenced that a little better, this would have been coming in for an additional 1 arcane damage. You know, maybe that and the Skullcap thing kind of even out with both players being slightly inefficient. Wow, no block from hand. Boy, that's a big surprise. That is a big surprise. He only blocks 9. That means he's going to take 4 damage and give his opponent 4 Runechants. That is not what I would have done. I think the card from hand has to be a block there, because you're essentially blocking double if you're blocking against that attack. You're essentially blocking double because it's not only blocking the physical damage now, it's also blocking the Runechants later. I'm really surprised that he decided to save this CNC rather than... I'm really, really surprised that he decided to save this rather than block with it, and I think that's a very questionable move. Okay, so he uses it plus his Tunic to just throw out a Club Swing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's worth it. But we'll have to see, you know. I think he's trying to chip away at his opponent's life, though. You know, maybe he's trying to get him in range for a big brute combo. We did see him pitch those copies of Barraging Beatdown earlier, which are one of the best and most aggressive cards for brute. So now it may be that he's thinking, okay, all I have to do is survive until I see my big Intimidate turn, intimidate away his whole hand, and come in for massive damage. That game plan can work. The problem here, though, is we actually haven't seen a single point of armor used from our Runeblade player. So there's more life here than it looks. You know, it's 23 life now, but there's also a potential 5 block, plus potentially more if there are multiple attacks. I don't know. He's not that close to being comboed out, I feel. And we see another Enchanting Melody played, and then it is immediately followed up by a Read the Runes red. Total of 4 Runechants being created. So this is the thing, by not blocking that Oops, and he accidentally sends the Enchanting Melody. Yeah, so that was accidentally got sent away. Just pointing that out for the players. Okay, so then, yeah, this is actually potentially going to be another huge turn. This could be Ninth Blade. I think he has a Ninth Blade left. He could get it with that, become the Arcanite. He could maybe even play Slogism before it, and there's 9 Runechants waiting. So that would be actually a free Ninth Blade. He also has the Gorganian Tome. This card is really interesting. It is the only card in Flesh and Blood that can't pitch, and it also can't block. But it just draws a card and has to go again. You might wonder, why would you ever play this? And the answer is that it enables Viserai's ability, and in a potential team format, which doesn't exist yet, it could also have some cool synergy there. All right, so 5 go again on this E-Strike from Chonigman. I think Paddago has to be thinking here, okay, at this point, do I need to block? I have a huge combo that I can potentially play and get my opponent far into the danger zone. The Enchanting Melody takes the hit, blocking 4 of it, so only 1 damage coming through. But there is now the opportunity for a second attack, and we do see a Pack Hunt coming in for 6, and another it intimidates the Gorganian Tome, which can't block anyway. So coming in for 6, I have to say I think it's possible that Paddago will just take the hit here and unleash his huge combo. He should be able to get a, depending on what he draws off the Gorganian Tome, he should here be able to get Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, I believe, plus that Slogism also. Actually, if he discards the Gorganian Tome to become the Arcanite, he can guaranteed... No, he's not going to do it. Big surprise. Thought he was going to go for the big attack, but he's playing a little more defensively. Now, it may be that he just doesn't want to go into the combo zone against that brute, but I think this is going to lead to a non-aggressive turn. So he triggers Gorganian Tome. Oh! He triggers Gorganian Tome! What luck! He draws Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath anyway. He doesn't need his combo. He can actually just throw this out for 9+9 right now if he wants to. Yeah, and there we go. 9+9. What a top deck. Now, it's possible that he had set this up somehow and that he knew that it was going to be coming up at this point, like based on his pitch order. I don't think that's true. I think he played a tutor which shuffled his deck, so I think that was just a very lucky top deck from the Gorganian Tome. But 9+9, really threatening attack coming in there against our brute player. This is a tough spot to be in. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath being played for free. And, yeah, I think that decision to take the hit and give him those extra Runechants against the Arcanite Ascendancy is really looking dubious now. I mean, I thought it was dubious originally, but I think it's looking even worse now that Ninth Blade is being played for free. If he didn't have those 4 Runechant tokens, he would actually not be able to play Ninth Blade this turn unless he wanted to destroy Bloodsheath Skeleton. 4 arcane damage being blocked. And then blocking 8 physical damage. So only 1 physical damage getting through, but it's going to be another dead turn from Chonigman with his entire hand used on the defense. I have to say, I think I rather would have taken 2 more arcane damage to throw out a club swing this turn. I could be wrong. Oh, we do see a Rattlebones in hand. That could potentially be used to get one of those big attacks out of the arsenal and play it again, but there aren't enough Runechants. There aren't enough Runechants. Okay. So here's a question. So these Runeblade decks can actually transition into a mode where they repeatedly use Grasp of the Arcanite and then just swing their weapon. And I'm wondering how long it will take, or how low he wants his opponent to get before he does that. So if you pitch blue, you can use, and you don't have a Runechant, you can use Grasp of the Arcanite to make 1 Runechant token. That has go again, and then you can swing with Reaping Blade for 1+3 off only 1 card. That's a very strong thing to do in the end of the game, because your opponent is now having to defend against your 0 cards with actually 2 cards of their own to avoid taking damage. It's kind of like being in the Kadachi zone against a ninja, but that only becomes that threatening once the opponent is low, and I think It seems to me like this deck here is not aiming to go for that. It's aiming to build up more and more Runechants. So Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath. All 3 copies have been played. Arknight Ascendancy, all 3 copies have been played or blocked with or whatever. He is going to have to go to Rattlebones or play a Remembrance if he wants to get his big attacks back now, but he doesn't have enough Runechants to reliably do them anyway. This could be an opportunity for C. Chonigman after a Potion of Strength turn, kind of a non-aggressive turn. Now a big attack coming in. Awakening Bellow here. Next Brute Attack action card you play this turn gains +3. It does have Intimidate. And then a Smash Instinct coming in for 9 and another Intimidate. 9 damage coming in here, and he's going to have to block with some of the stuff in hand, but with those Intimidates, he won't be able to block it fully unless he uses his equipment. So Intimidate pressure here definitely kicking in a bit. Let's see what happens. You know, C. Chonigman's below on life, and his situation is actually even worse on life once you factor in the armor, because Paddago has not used a single of his armor blocks, and he has 3 pieces of equipment that can potentially block for 2 and then 1. However, he is also in a spot where he's getting closer to that Intimidate 1-hit kill zone from a potential quad Intimidate or triple Intimidate turn. So he's going to block 8 and take 1 damage there. Does use his first block on his Bloodsheath Skeleton. Sorry, what? Oh, Runeblood Barrier actually only blocks for 2. So I thought that was blocking 8, but C. Chonigman actually corrected it to saying 7. So 2 damage getting through, not just 1. This turn is just going to be Read the Runes from Paddago. I'm almost totally sure. Yep, Read the Runes, 3 Runechant tokens. Very basic, but that's what he is trying to do. He's building up those Runechants. Building up those Runechants so that he can play his Rattlebones and do one of his big attacks from the discard pile. The problem with these, so Read the Runes, just giving you the Runechants, it's a commonly played card, but it's so non-aggressive that it gives your opponent an opportunity to get some tempo. And that's really what we're seeing here. This could be a Blood Rush Bellow turn. No. Oh, man. C. Chonigman, I think, is looking for the kill. I think he's looking for the kill. He puts Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal. I think he's trying to get set up to do a gigantic turn of his own. He plays a Time Snap potion as well. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now it's time for Paddago to consider his options. He could go for a big attack right now, I think. What does he have in Arsenal? He has a Slogism. Yeah, so he could use his Bloodsheath Skeleton, play the Slogism for free, play Rattlebones, get one of his big attacks, play that for free. And he would have a huge attack coming in buffed by Slogism. I think that's probably what I would do in his situation. But we'll have to see. Plays the Slogism normally. Well, I guess, you know, so he plays the Slogism, then he uses the Potion of Strength. Pitches, okay, so he actually doesn't need to crack Skeleton here. Then he uses the Rattlebones. So the Rattlebones is going to find him probably going to be Arknight Ascendancy here. Yeah, Arknight Ascendancy, and then he's going to be playing that from the discard pile. As there is a go again on that Rattlebones. Another Runechant being created from the Rattlebones. Not an instant because none of that was played. And then coming in for 6. This is going to be very, very dangerous for once there isn't a defense reaction in Arsenal. So 6 Runechants, and then +5, +7, strength 12 Dominate, and every damage dealt by that Dominate attack is going to give extra Runechants. This actually could be, ooh, I don't know. C. Chonigman, this could be his end. He's going to have to block substantially just to avoid actually dying here. He's not going to be able to come anywhere close to blocking the 12 damage with Dominate. He doesn't have a defense reaction prepped in Arsenal this time. Even using his equipment, he's only going to be able to defend 5 or 6 damage. So that's going to be 6 or 7 damage getting through from the dominated hit, and that's all going to turn into Runechants. And then I think that's going to be Paddago's opportunity to shift to the Reaping Blade game plan with his opponent very low, and it's going to be tough. We'll see whether or not Chonigman can make a big comeback here, but I don't know. It's looking grim with these huge swings coming in, bolstered by the potion of strength and the slogism. Really not looking good. Pitches to block 2. Pitches to block 2. Pitches the pummel to block 1. Blocking 5. So that's going to be 1 arcane damage cutting through his defenses. And then the big problem, though, is the 12 dominate. He's going to be able to block 3 with the card from hand. And then he's going to be able to block 1 more with his skull cap, 1 more with his scab skins. That's going to be 5. He would still be taking 8 and giving his opponent 8 Runechants. Probably you might decide that it's time to block with your tunic as well, which is painful, but it does essentially block double if he blocks with his tunic. No, he's going to save the tunic. I don't know that saving the tunic is prudent here. 7 damage getting through. We'll see, though. He may be thinking, my only chance is to win quickly. I'm going to need that, I'm going to need that tunic's energy to pull off a big attack in 2 turns. And that's going to give Paddago 7 Runechant tokens. Okay, Chonigman in desperate shape. No cards left. His opponent has a huge pile of Runechants. Oh, and there's another Rattlebones and Slogisms. This is almost certainly the game. I don't see any way to survive this. He's going to be able to play that other Slogism. He's going to be able to play Rattlebones again and come in with another giant attack, and this time I think there's going to be no stopping him. Man, this the big turn Runeblade deck I think is going to come through here with a victory against our brute player. I could be wrong. We're going to have to see exactly what happens here, but there's another Rattlebones, and I just do not see a survival there for our I do not see a survival there in the cards for our brute player. It's going to be tough. Another Slogism yellow. Next attack action card with cost 2 or greater you play this turn gains +5. There's the Rattlebones. I think it's going to be another Ascendancy, and I just do not see. There's another Rattlebones into another Ascendancy. Once again, it's free. That previous one hitting so hard gave all the Runechants that makes this one for free. So then this one is coming in at strength 10 plus 8 Runechants, and I don't know. I think that's just outright game. Maybe he can defend it. He can defend 5. He can defend 6 arcane and then block for 4. No, he's dead. Even just the dominated attack means he's dead. Yeah, Chonigman says GG. Wow. So Paddago there with the build-up Runeblade deck. I was a little critical of some of what he was doing at first, but he really turned things around there with the giant attacks. I think really the core difference there was, did Chonigman have the defense reactions set up in Arsenal to stop the Arcanite Ascendancy? On those first ones he did, but when these attacks came around, he didn't. That was the key difference, and that was, I think, pretty crushing for him. So, tough situation. Did also have a bit of bad luck. One time he rolled the Scab Skin Leathers. He did roll a 1. I think because of that, maybe on his next turn, he opted not to roll it and just played the tome straight, which was not the best way to use the tome. Paddago says, I was running low on threats for sure, but had enough. Yeah, I think he had 1 more Rattlebones. I don't know if he was running Remembrance. Let's take a quick look at his deck and see what else. Yeah, so he didn't have Remembrance. He hadn't played his copies of Dread Triptych, though. He did have another Rattlebones, and furthermore, he would be able to shift into that 1+3 attack pattern. Now, we did see the Brute player running substantially above 60. He was at 65. Chonigman says, yeah, drew into a lot of red on your big turns. Yeah, so he wasn't able to block as much as he was hoping against the arcane damage, drawing those reds. But yeah, so this is a big victory for the build-up Runeblade deck. Sometimes these decks that are relying on getting a bunch of stuff built up can be too slow or dirtily, and the opponent can punish the non-aggressive turns. But
See, Honigman was having some trouble doing that. Did manage to land some stuff. Had a bit of bad luck on the scab skins, and ultimately was not able to prevail. So, interesting game there, guys. That was the, people talk about OTK Runeblade, which is one turn kill. You can't really kill the opponent in one turn in Classic Constructed. I mean, you can, but it's not really very likely. But instead, you can do these really big attacks, and if you do multiple really big attacks, maybe you're going to do 2 or 3 of these combos. I mean, I think he actually ended up doing 4 or 5. But that was with his opponent doing a good job of defending some of them. And doing like a repeated mid-sized combos is, I think, better than trying to save up to do the one ultimate turn. See, Honigman says in chat, think I needed to put more pressure earlier. Used to swing club game. Yeah, so often Brute can defend and swing club and kind of whittle away the opponent. And that wasn't the case. It wasn't enough pressure. Paddago asked, what happened when we were in that early stalemate? I just had a handful of defense reacts and assumed you did too. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think the Brute hands weren't quite lining up to be as aggressive as would be optimal. Interesting situation. I think against the build-up Runeblade, you might almost want to play it as if you were playing against a mechanologist in terms of like being quite aggressive and trying to get them before they set up and pressure them. In this case, there wasn't a ton of pressure coming in from the club swings. It did whittle some damage away, and he did do a fair amount. He was building up for a potential big combo later on, but it didn't quite happen. All right, so they're going to actually do a rematch, but it's going to be with different decks here. I'm going to stream that one as well, but I'm going to do a quick break for the stream. I'm going to go and grab a drink, grab a bit of food, and while they are setting up, I'm going to turn off the stream and then turn it back on so that we will also have them as separate VODs for me to upload later. So I'm going to turn off the stream for now, guys, but I'll be right back. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.